Isang magandang araw naman sa ating lahat, and for today's video lesson, we will talk about the quadratic functions. At the end of this video lesson, you will be able to represent a quadratic function using table of values, graph, and equation. A quadratic function is any function of the form, so ibig sabihin yan, alin man sa dalawa na to is a quadratic function. So first one, we have y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, or f of x or function of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Parang similar siya sa ating quadratic equation. So first, which of the following equations represents a quadratic function? So, meron tayong limang example dito and we will identify kung yung equation ba na yun is a quadratic function. Number 1, we have y is equal to 3x squared minus 10x. So, paano ba natin malalaman kung yung ating equation is a quadratic function? Unang-una, titignan natin kung meron ba tayong variable y or variable x. And then, kung wala man tayong y, at least we have f of x and also yung ating variable na x. So, dito meron tayong y, meron tayong x. So, possible na quadratic function to. Next, titignan natin dapat is yung ating highest degree or yung exponent natin is squared. So, meron tayong squared dito, 3x squared. So, kahit wala tayong constant term or wala tayong linear term, pero dito meron tayong linear term. At least yung ating highest degree is squared. Quadratic function yan. So, yung ating number 1 is a quadratic function. Number 2, we have x is equal to 2y minus 25. So, titignan natin kung meron ba tayong x or meron ba tayong y. Meron tayong x, meron tayong y. Next, meron ba tayong highest degree na square dito? Dapat yung ating x ang may exponent na 2. So, dito yung x natin is wala siyang exponent na 2, which means this is not a quadratic function. Number 3, we have y is equal to x squared. So, titignan natin, meron ba tayong variable x and meron ba tayong y? Meron. Y and x. And then, yung highest degree ba natin is square? Meron tayong x squared dito. So, which means kahit walang linear term yan, kahit walang constant term, at least we have yung ating x squared. Yun yung pinakamataas nating exponent yung 2. This is a quadratic function. Number 4, we have f of x is equal to x times the quantity of x minus 2 times the quantity of x plus 5. So, dito kasi, we don't have y, tama? So, yung y, pwede rin siyang f of x. So, same lang yan, f of x or yung y. So, tignan natin, hindi pa naka-equate or hindi pa naka-simplify yung ating equation. So, what are we going to do is to simplify it. So, first, we will use the FOIL method. So, huwag mo muna papansinin si x. Yun munang x minus 2 times x plus 5. So, FOIL method tayo, first, outer, inner, last. So, x times x is x squared, and then x times 5 is 5x, negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Next, combine like terms yung 5x and negative 2x. So, 5x minus 2x is positive 3x. So, bring down natin si x squared, and then si negative 10. Next, we will distribute si x dun sa ating mga terms. X times x squared is x cubed. X times 3x is 3x squared. And then x times negative 10 is negative 10x. So, ito na yung ating simplified form. Next is, titignan natin kung meron ba tayong y or meron ba tayong f of x. So, meron tayo. Meron ba tayong variable na x? So, meron tayo dito. Next, titignan natin kung yung highest degree ba natin dito is 2. Or yung exponent natin, yung pinakamataas na exponent is 2. So, meron tayo dito squared. Pero meron tayong cube. So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya quadratic function. Number 5 is we have f of x is equal to the quantity of x plus 3 times x plus 2. So, ang gagawin natin is we will simplify yung ating equation. So, same process tayo. Gagamit tayo ng FOIL method. So, x times x is x squared. And then, outer tayo. X times 2 is 2x. Inner, 3 times x is 3x. And then, last is 3 times 2 is 6. Combine like terms. Yung may variable na x, which is 2x and 3x. So, 2x plus 3x is 5x. So, meron na tayong simplified form. Next, titignan natin kung quadratic function ba to. Meron ba tayong variable y Wala. Pero meron tayong f of x. So, pwede yan. Next, meron ba tayong variable x? So, meron tayo. Tignan natin yung ating highest degree ba ay squared. So, meron tayong exponent na to dito. And then, we have constant, linear, and then yung quadratic term. So, yung ating equation is a quadratic function. Next is, we will complete the following table of values using the indicated functions or function. So, we have number 1, alaan natin, table of values na tayo dito. Number 1, we have f of x is equal to 3x plus 2. So, using our table of values, ang ginamit natin dito is, dun sa x natin is 0 or 2, 1, 0, negative 1, and negative 2. Ang hahanapin natin dyan yung value ng ating mga y. So, paano ba natin makahanap yung value ng y natin? So, ang gagawin lang natin dito is we will substitute or substitution using yung ating original equation. So, ito yan. F of x is equal to 3x plus 2. So, ang gagamitin natin dyan is si negative 2. Ang answer natin is negative 4. Kapag daw si x is negative 2, si y daw is negative 4. Paano nga ba yan? Using substitution, so we will substitute yung value ng x natin. Gagamitin natin si negative 2. So, f of negative 2 is equal to 3. Yung x natin, papalitan natin na negative 2 plus 2. Next, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 and then bring down 2. So, f of negative 2 is equal to negative 4. Bakit? Negative 6 plus 2, different sign, so we will subtract and then follow the sign of the higher number. So, which is negative. So, f of negative 2 is equal to negative 4. Kaya natin nakuha si negative 4. Same process tayo. Next naman is si negative 1 naman. So, substitute lang natin si negative 1 sa mga x na meron tayo sa ating original equation. So, we have f of negative 1 is equal to 3 times negative 1 plus 2. So, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And then, bring down 2, negative 3 plus 2, different sign. So, mag-subtract tayo and then follow natin yung higher number natin, which is magiging negative 1. So, kapag daw si x is negative 1, si y is also negative 1 based sa ating equation. Next is, whenever our x is 0, ang value daw ng y natin is 2. So, substitution ulit tayo. Si 0, isa-substitute natin dun sa mga x na meron tayo. So, f of 0 is equal to 3 times 0 plus 2. Next, f of 0 is equal to 3 times 0 is 0, bring down 2. So, 0 plus 2 is 2. Kaya dito is naging 2 yung y natin kapag si x is 0 is using substitution. Next is, whenever our x is positive 1, so yung y daw natin is 5. So again, substitution tayo. Yung x, yung kukunin natin, tandaan lang natin. So, 1. Substitute natin, f of 1 is equal to 3 times 1 plus 2. So, 3 times 1 is 3. And then bring down 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. So, yung y natin is 5. Lastly, whenever our x is positive 2, so, substitute natin. Kapag daw si x is positive 2, si y is 8. Inuulit ko, hindi palaging ganito yung magiging answer natin. Depende yan sa ating equation. And then, kapag in-equate natin, yun yung lalabas. So, f of positive 2 is equal to 3 times 2 plus 2. So, 3 times 2 is 6. And then, bring down 2. So, f of 2 is equal to 6 plus 2. So, 6 plus 2 is 8. So, kaya naging 8 yung value ng ating y. So, whenever x is positive 2, y is positive 8. Inuulit ko lang, gagamitin lahat natin yung value ng x natin na nakalagay dun sa ating given, which are 2, 1, 0, negative 1, and negative 2. And then, tandaan lang natin, substitution using yung x para malaman yung value ng y natin. And, kung mapapansin nyo, yung ating given na equation is not a quadratic function kasi we don't have yung highest degree, which is 2. So, meron tayong f of x, meron tayong variable x, pero yung ating highest degree is not 2. So, our equation is not a quadratic function. So, next is we will find the first difference in y. So, bakit first difference? Kasi, meron pang second difference yan. Pero dito kasi, dahil it is not a quadratic function dun sa ating example, or yung ginamit natin dito sa ating table, is hanggang first difference na. So, titignan natin, magsasubtract tayo simula dun sa right natin, which is yung 8. So, 8 minus 5, ito yan. 8 minus 5 is 3. Next, 5 minus 2 is equal to 3 also. Next, 2 minus negative 1. So, dito, 2 minus negative 1, i-multiply natin si negative at saka si negative dito. Or si minus and si negative. So, same sign. Kapag nag-multiply tayo, magiging positive. So, 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Next, negative 1 minus negative 4. Same process tayo. Negative 1. Ang i-multiply natin dito is yung sign lang. Which is yung negative 4 at saka yung minus. So, magiging positive. So, minus or negative 1 plus 4 is equal to 3. Different sign, subtract tayo and then follow natin yung higher number which is 4. So, positive siya. Negative 1 plus 4 is equal to 3. So, kung mapapansin natin, pare-pareho yung nakuha nating different. So, we can conclude yung ating given dito is not a quadratic function. So, dun sa first difference pa lang is makukuha natin yung mga answer na pare-pareho. So, we have example number 2. F of x is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 1. So, kung titignan natin yung ating given is, meron tayong f of x, and then yung highest degree natin is square, na yung variable niya is x. So, yung ating given dito is a quadratic function. So, isasolve natin using our table of values. So, same process tayo, but this time, ito yung equation na gagamitin natin. So, using our table of values, unahin natin si negative 2. So, substitute lang natin yung mga x. Yung x magiging mga negative 2. So, f of negative 2 is equal to negative 2 squared plus 2 times negative 2 minus 1. So, negative 2 squared is 4, and then positive 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, and then bring down negative 1. So, kung makikita natin is we can cancel yung 4 and negative 4. So, different sign yan. So, kapag sinubtract, siyempre 0. So, cancel na yan. So, ang natira natin, f of negative 2 is equal to negative 1. So, ibig sabihin, kapag daw si x is negative 2, si y is negative 1. So, based dun sa ating given equation. So, we have, next is negative 1 naman yung gagamitin natin. Again, substitute natin, f of negative 1 is equal to negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 minus 1. So, 1 squared is 1, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and then bring down negative 1. So, kung i-equate natin to is, we can also cancel negative 1 at saka si 1. Ang matitira natin is si negative 2. Or pwede namang 1 minus 2 is negative 1, and then negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. So, yung answer natin is f of negative 1 is equal to negative 2. So, kapag daw si x is negative 1, si y is negative 2. So, next is, kapag naman si x is 0. So, same process tayo. 0 squared plus 2 times 0 is equal to or minus 1. So, 0 squared is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And then bring down negative 1. And then, 0 plus 0, wala na yan. Minus 1. So, ang matitira na lang si negative 1. So, kapag daw si x is 0, yung y natin is negative 1. Next is, whenever x is 1, so substitute natin, 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 1. So 1 squared is 1, and then 2 times 1 is 2, and then bring down negative 1. So kung i-equate natin to, 1 plus 2 is 3, minus 1 is 2. So kapag daw si x is 1, yung y natin is positive 2. Lastly, so we have whenever x is 2. So substitute natin, 2 squared plus 2 times 2 minus 1. So 2 squared is 4, and then 2 times 2 is 4, and then bring down negative 1. 4 plus 4 is 8, minus 1 is 7. So whenever x is 2, the value of our y is 7. So next is, syempre hahanapin natin yung first difference and also the second difference. So dito, bakit meron tayong second difference? Kasi, kapag hanggang first difference lang tayo, is yung highest degree natin is 1, which is yung kanina, yung example natin number 1. So kapag quadratic function, hanggang second difference tayo dun sa ating value ng y. So dun muna tayo sa first difference, same process. Umpisa tayo dun sa right, which is 7 minus 2 is 5. And then 2 minus negative 1, so multiply natin yung negative natin, magiging positive. So 2 plus 1 is 3. Next, negative 1 minus negative 2. So negative times negative is positive. So different sign, we will subtract and then follow the higher number, which is 2. So positive 1. Next, negative 2 minus negative 1. Negative times negative is positive. So negative 2, same lang yan, plus 1, different sign. And then subtract, follow the higher number, which is 2. Negative siya, so negative 1. So ito yung ating first difference. Next is yung ating second difference. So, ito na yung gagamitin natin. Si 5, 3, 1, and negative 1. So, 5 minus 3 is 2. Next, 3 minus 1 is 2. Then 1 minus negative 1. 1 minus negative 1. Multiply natin, same sign, magiging positive. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So, dapat dun sa ating second difference in y is magkakapareho na yung answer natin. Dun sa kaninang example natin, which is yung hindi quadratic function, is dun sa first difference pa lang is magkakamukha na yung answer natin. Pero kapag quadratic function, dun sa second difference pa lang, magkakamukha yung ating mga answer. So next is we will sketch the graph of the given quadratic functions. So this time, graphing tayo. So yung ating given example is yung kanina, yung number 2 example natin dun sa ating table of values, which is y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 1. Yung f of x kanina, ginawa ko y. So, same lang yun. F of x or y is pareho lang sila. So, next is ito yung nakuha nating table of values. So, before we graph yung ating number 1 example is the graph of a quadratic function is called a parabola. Tandaan natin, yung graph sa ating quadratic function, ang tawag dyan, parabola. So, it is basically a curve shape opening up or down. So, magbibigay tayo ng picture kung ano ba si parabola. So, we have two given parabola. Ito yung una, ito yung pangalawa. Yung una natin is, it opens upward. Ito yung parabola natin. So, upward, it opens upward. Yung pangalawa natin is, it opens downward. Paano ba natin malalaman kung upward or downward yung ating parabola? So, ang sabi dito, if a is greater than 0, then the parabola opens upward. So, pataas. Sa example natin number 1 is pataas siya. Bakit? Kasi yung value ng a natin is positive. Yun dun sa quadratic term natin. So, positive yung ating quadratic term, which means it opens upward. Kapag naman, if a is less than 0, then the parabola opens downward. Kapag a is less than 0 or negative numbers, yung ating parabola opens downward. So, yung equation natin dito is y is equal to negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 18. So, yung ating quadratic term is negative. So, kapag negative yung quadratic term, yung variable natin dito, which is yung a is 2 or negative 2, so it opens downward. So, simple lang. Kapag yung quadratic term natin is positive, upward. Kapag yung ating quadratic term is negative, downward. Inuulit ko, ito yung ating parabola. Curve shape. So next is we will plot the coordinates. So yung coordinates natin are x and y. Tandaan natin, lagi nauuna si x kay y. So yung magkakapartner dyan is, eto, magkakatapat. So first is point A. Meron tayong point A, B, C, D, and E. So first is point A, negative 2 and negative 1. Point B is negative 1 and negative 2. Point C is 0 and negative 1. Point D is 1 and 2, and then point E is 2 and 7. So, inuulit ko, lagi nauuna si X kay Y. Next is, syempre, ipa-plot natin yung points na meron tayo. So, titignan natin dito yung ating Cartesian plane, yung ating horizontal line, yung pahiga, siya si X-axis. Vertical line, yung patayo, is siya si Y-axis. So, bakit 7? Kung makikita natin 7 lahat ng dulo natin. Kasi, pinakamataas natin na number dito is 7. Para magandang tignan and uniform is 7 yung nilagay ko. So kung 10 yan, lagay nyo is hanggang 10. So sa lahat ng side na meron tayo. So next is, ipa-plot natin yung points na meron tayo. First is si A, which is negative 2 and negative 1. Tandaan natin si X muna bago si Y. So dun muna tayo sa pahiga. Tingnan natin si negative 2. Ito si negative 2. And then, negative 1, doon naman tayo sa patayo. Ito si negative 1. Kung saan sila mag-i-intersect, kung saan sila magkikita, doon yung point natin or yung plot, doon natin siya ipa-plot. So, negative 2 and negative 1, dito yan. Next is negative 1 and negative 2. Negative 1 and negative 2. So, dito sila mag-i-intersect. Next, point C is 0 and negative 1. Si 0 is, siya yung ating origin, yun yung gitna. Ito yan, 0. So, dito tayo 0. And then si negative 1, ito. So, dito na siya. Doon siya kay negative 1. Next is 1 and 2. Positive 1, pahiga muna. 1, and then si 2 doon sa nakatayo. 1, kasi ito si 2. So, dito sila mag-i-intersect. So, doon yung point natin. Or doon natin siya ipa-plot. And then letter E is 2 and 7. Doon muna tayo kay x, which is ito yan, 2, positive 2, and then si 7 is andito siya, positive 7. So kung saan sila mag-i-intersect is doon yung plot natin. Tandaan lang natin, si x muna, yung nakahiga muna, doon tayo titingin, and then next is yung y natin. Next is kung idodraw natin yung ating parabola, dahil yung value ng ating a is positive, it opens upward. So, kung idodrawing natin yan, yung ating parabola is ganito siya. Dapat is papantayin natin siya dun sa ating mga points, yung mga nakuha nating points. Makikita nyo meron siyang arrow dito, which means continuous yan. So, yung ginamit lang kasi natin dito is 5 points. So, ito yan, A, B, C, D, and E dun sa ating given. Inuulit ko, dahil ang value ng ating A is positive, it opens upward. That ends our video lesson for today. Maraming salamat and God bless us all.